Hey, what's up? Ready to move on? So let's jump right into today's lesson. Let's create our loop, except this time we need a slightly different loop. Basically, WordPress works with two types of loops. The default or standard loop, which is the kind of loop we've learned to create so far in the course, and the custom loop. The advantage of the custom loop is that you can pass new parameters onto the query, such as category names or IDs, post types, number of posts to return, well, a lot of different parameters. However, there are appropriate ways to create a custom query. A little advice, and I will not go into too much details here. Never try to do this using the WordPress query posts function, okay? If you've learned to build custom loops using that function, forget about it and follow the method I'm gonna be teaching you today. We're gonna use a super powerful WordPress class called WP Query. Again, I won't go into too much detail on how it works under the hood. In case you want to delve into it and also understand why not use query posts to create custom loops, I'll leave the link in the extra material for this lesson. In the WP Query class link, you can also see all the possible arguments that can be used in the query. I'll tell you in advance that there are countless. That's why this lesson will be really to show the basics of how it works, because we could never exhaust the subject in just one lecture. So let's move on and create that. The first thing we're gonna do here is create an array of arguments. Let's call it args. Here we will limit our query. We want to pass some arguments, but not so many, okay? As I said before, there are countless other arguments that you can use to do pretty much anything you want in the loop. The first will be post underscore type. Remember I told you that WordPress also considers the pages as post types? The default value for this field is post. So if you want to work with posts, it's not even necessary to call this argument. As we don't want posts, but pages, we'll pass the value of the argument as page. The second argument will be posts per page, all with underscore. And here we define the maximum amount of posts that will be returned by the query. Of course, this number will also define the number of slides that will appear. Let's set it to 3, which is the maximum number of slides we'll offer in our slider to the theme user. The next argument is post in. Pay a lot of attention because here we got 2 underscores, okay? So it's post underscore underscore in. This defines the IDs of the pages we want to be displayed using the loop. This field accepts an array, and within this array, you can pass the IDs separated by commas, like this. Well, we already have an array that contains all the IDs we want, don't we? Of course we do. It's this array here. Check it out. That's the reason why it was created. So we only need to pass it here. Okay, problem solved. Now the last argument is for the loop ordering. The argument is called order by. Here we can define the loop the order will respect to show the results on the screen. The order I always prefer to follow is the same as that of the ID stored in the array. So I can take this argument here and pass it as a value. Cool, huh? That's it. We have an array of arguments. Now we need to create a variable to store these arguments and move on to the query right away. Let's call it slider underscore loop. And here's an important thing. For this variable to be able to store those arguments, it needs to become a new instance of the WP Query class. New WP underscore query. And here inside the brackets, we pass the array of arguments. Now, technically, this variable has become an object of the WP Query class. Virtually inside it, we have a copy of the default WordPress query object. But forget about all this technical language, okay? Let's start seeing the power of this class now. Let's create the loop. We start here with if have posts while have posts the post. Let's finish our loop down here so we don't have any errors. And while and if. Okay, what we need to do for this variable to control the loop is to pass its name before have posts and the post, like this. In doing so, we completely modify the standard loop. To wrap up, we have to call a function named wp reset post data just after the end while. This ensures that this query will not affect the main WordPress query if you have to use it again on the same page. Don't ever forget to add this function at the end of the custom loop, okay? Alright, our loop is almost ready, except it doesn't bring anything significant on the screen yet. Now the best part is about to start. Let's try to bring our first field on the screen, which will be the background image of each post. Do you remember that we created a custom image size? Let's call it here then. To do this, we no longer need this img tag. Let's call a WordPress function that brings the featured image from each post inside an img tag. This function is the post thumbnail. We'll pass two parameters to it. The first one is the image size parameter. We can pass here thumb, medium, large, which are built-in WordPress image sizes. Or we can pass some sort of specialized image size, like the one we created to be used in the slider, which has the name of Fancy Lab Slider. The second parameter is an array of arguments. Let's pass the argument class and set its value as img-fluid. This will add a class to our image called img-fluid, which is a bootstrap class that can make the image responsive. If we save now, we can see some results on the screen. Check it out, we have the image from the first page. And the other slides are also coming up with the other images. Well, that's it for this lesson. Next time we will continue and bring the rest of the information back into the slider. So, until then.